And let me see if leaving a marker here works like Fernando wanted me to.
Marker. You should just say Darko tag. That's how it works, right?
I have no idea what I just did. I don't think the control he said works. What did he say? I'm making him do editing. Oh, Shift M. I did Control M. Let's try Shift M. All right, this will be for day one. Day one. Okay. Okay. Sup Nerds, and welcome to Powerful, the Power Metal Podcast, the podcast with powerful metal and even more powerful opinions. My name is Kyle. I'll be your host as we go through the wonderful ProgPower USA, our every year big festival of European bands coming to America for the first time. And once again, I am joined by my friend Alice from Rage Badger Gaming. Alice, welcome.
Hi there. Always glad to talk way too much about metal.
That's why we have you here, and also because Fernando is busy and lives around the other side of the world. He did not sneak his way into the country for this festival a month after the last one. Sorry,
that would have been kind of hilarious.
It would have been. There was a part of me hoping for it, but
the fact that Killer Bunny wasn't there, I think that probably stopped it. Like, her presence, I think, is needed to facilitate that.
Yeah, our glorious benefactors that keep the powerful podcast going. But so this was, I think, my 5th ProgPower USA, and your 4th. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it is.
And another thing I want to bring up, I could have brought this up later, but I want to say it now. There have been 3 ProgPowers since the pandemic. I've gotten COVID at 2 of them, including this one. And I think you did too.
Yeah, I definitely got it. I don't know if I didn't test positive on the one that you got it, but I definitely got it this time, and it was pretty bad. So, man, that sucks.
What's really funny is I've been a Mad with Power 4 times since the pandemic, and I've gotten COVID at none of them. So, what's that say about Atlanta or ProgPower? I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I've been to so many conventions. Like, I go to like a bunch of board game conventions, right?
Nerd.
And I've been this just in, nerd. But like, I wear a mask all the time, and like, I don't get sick. Like, I got sick kind of once at a ProgPower. And I'm like, you know what? I guess in my head, I was like, you know what? I don't care. We're just not going to use a mask really all this time, except in the airport. Dumb on my part.
Well, Plague Power struck again, but we make it work, and we're going to talk about some bands.
Anyway, at least we got to see the band, so that's what's important, right?
Definitely. All right, let's get into day 1 of the festival. Kicking off day 1 of the festival was Darkwater. Darkwater is a prog metal band from Sweden, and I thought that they were, they always have the hard task of whoever's first opening up the festival. Usually it's like half empty because like no one's there yet, or day 1 isn't as popular. I feel like day 1 this year, it was pretty popping. Like, I was already stacked like 3 lines on top of each other wherever I went anywhere in the festival, and it was like full for the first band. So that was impressive.
It was strange because like we had the same experience, and usually I'm like, if I notice something, I'm assuming, I don't know. I very much doubt myself, but like Stephanie, like who I was with, said to me like, does this seem like more full? I'm like, I couldn't well tell, but like, everything from the like seats to the pit did not feel like a day 1 opening band like size. So like, good job on them for like packing this place. Like clearly, especially on day 1, which I didn't think was sold out. It certainly felt like it.
It felt like it. Yeah, I didn't notice any like big difference between like day 1 versus day 3. But for Darkwater themselves, I thought they were solid. I'm not a big proggy boy, but I really liked how this goes to show the value of having live keyboards for your show, because I felt like that added so much more to their music. Even when like the guitars are doing boring stuff, like the keyboardist was still doing. It's not my fault when prog bands just stand there and look like boring nerds and just go dar dar dar, but in like slightly weird time signatures. But then the keyboard stuff I thought added another element that can be interested throughout the show. So these guys were solid. I thought they were like the quintessential like prog power proggy band. So made sense to open it up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they did. First off, I think they did a very good job. I mean, they played like Alive, Breathe, and Why I Bleed. So they played several. They missed Walls of Deception. So I wasn't like my perfect.
So
like,
you knew about them going in. I've never listened to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you're proggier than me. You got your bigger brain, I guess.
Yeah, look, it was really enjoyable because I remember listening to them and I'm like, I feel like the singer is the weakest part. But I'm wondering if he's gotten better because like the one album I was listening to is literally like a decade old. And I got there and I want to say that the live performance is actually better than the studio for this. The studio's good. So it's not like, a case of another certain Michigan band where maybe their studio performance has reasons for it to be bad. But like, I feel like
Darkwater's not from Michigan.
That's true. They're from Sweden. That's why I'm picking a different band. But yeah, that's it. It's the Sweden Michigan difference. But hearing them perform some of these songs, the singer sounds just a little older. I don't know. There's something just different about his voice. I thought it was done really well. It wasn't like, oh my God, I was blown away and cried. No, but it was like really good. I'm like, this is a solid set list. They did great. And I ultimately think more people, if you do I think you said it right. Like prog, the classic prog power prog. It's not like super weird. It's definitely more accessible compared to other prog bands, but it's certainly not powerful enough and like, it's not uplifting, fun power metal. It's very much sad girl shit. But like, yeah, I think it's pretty accessible, and I think it's I strongly I urge people to listen to Human is a really great album, and they're honestly just they have several great albums though. So like whatever. But yeah, where Stories End also fantastic. Like those two, check them out.
I gotta say though, during one of the songs, they had like the video going, and there was some water behind them. The water didn't look that dark. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah,
false advertising.
I'll FedEx them a complaint. It's funny because when we were on day 4 and we were just chilling, Darkwater was sitting right in front of us, and I was like, don't. So the funny part is I'm like, don't stalk them. But I like wanted to check what they looked like on Instagram to make sure it was them. And I'm like, I don't follow them.
Talk loudly about how bad prog is.
Yes, that's true. The funny part is I followed them on Instagram and just like closed my app out. And then Stephanie was sitting next to me, just hits me like to get my attention. And the singer had his phone open. It pointed down. He was just scrolling through my Instagram profile. He must have got the notification.
Got the notification like, yeah. Oh, this person followed you. I'm like, let me see how fucking weird they are.
Yeah. He probably was like, oh, this bitch is weird. Closing it now. But they're fantastic.
All right. Well, speaking of weird, let's talk about Victorius.
I think you're going to have to talk more about them. I was mostly I was outside getting my flowchart signed. So I only heard it secondarily and I don't actively listen to them. So I feel like you should fill us in.
So I'm not like a big Victorius guy or anything. The maybe casual racism band, but they're like peak stupid power metal, and like so I wasn't really looking forward to like this show, but I was curious. And hey, they put on a fun show. They were very energetic. It was had a good stage presence. They're busting out all the props, the fucking like cyberpunk glowing katana thing. It's all really stupid, and I wouldn't say I particularly love their songs. They have some good ones here and there, but hey, I'll give them credit. They have a good live show. Like, if I'm going to experience Victorius, this is the way to do it, and not watching, like, the bad CGI music videos or something.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, from what I heard, like, just, like, from the muffle, like, you can't get the best sound from outside, but...
Right.
Like, I've never really been like, wow, this performance is terrible. I've never thought that. It's just usually just been a little bit more disinteresting to me or something, but it did sound energetic, fun, and I'm like, I bet you even if I wasn't getting stuff signed, and I'm like, let's stay in there, I'm pretty sure I would have enjoyed it. It's fine, but I wouldn't exactly. I'm not super enthused, so I'm glad that it was enjoyable. I'm glad the presentation was fun. I do, as much as we make fun of gimmicks, it does get me more into performances. So
yeah,
like, do the gimmick.
It gives you something to lean into for the live show.
For sure.
I'm pretty sure I had a bit of alcohol running through me when this show happened. So that probably helped them out too. So hey, it's about as positive as I could have reasonably expected to have been impressed by Victorius.
It's just in. Get buzzed for Victorious or have some snacks.
Yes. Get inebriated through your method of choice there. All right. Let's jump into Dream Evil. All right. Talking about Dream Evil. This is an old school German power heavy metal band where their earlier stuff is much better than their old stuff. And so I think they know that because they were selling shirts of their first album. They were playing like half the set list was from the first album. And you could tell that the band or the crowd was definitely more engaged when they played the older songs.
Yeah, okay. Are you sure they're German? I thought for sure they were Swedish.
I might have gotten my regular power metal countries mixed up.
That's fair. I'm pretty sure they're Swedish, but yeah. And you're 100% right though. The I myself was anytime if they played anything
they are Swedish,
from Dragon Slayer, they are just Swedish. Okay, got it. But if they played something from Dragon Slayer, I was fucking into it. I was like, I'm here for it. I got super energized, and even a couple of the other songs from like Evilized and their early stuff basically, but mostly Dragon Slayer. And the fact that they played an equal number of songs from Dragon Slayer as their new stuff, I think they're kind of aware of where their discography stands. But man, I couldn't get into the new songs. Like I wanted
it's fine,
to, yeah, I wanted to, and it was fine. But when they did the old stuff, man, it was fantastic. Loved it, loved it. So very much for me, kind of a hit and miss show. When they were playing the hot songs, it's fantastic. Got into it. And then they had played several songs that I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. So I was very hot and cold.
Yeah, definitely. This was like a weird show because it's like, oh, here's our preview for Mad with Power next year.
Yeah.
And I think I came away thinking the same way that I was expecting to feel with like the very split between old and new with their style. However, a very special aspect of this show, or I guess two aspects, they've been trying to get Dream Evil at Prog Power for like close to 20 years or some shit. So Nathan was very happy to have finally pulled that off. That's cool. The other thing,
I'm glad they got that.
Their original drummer came back, and he like drummed for a song. He did vocals on the last song. So some just good vibes of like, hey, we finally got your band out here, and this guy's here, and he's reuniting with his band to check it out. That was Mr. Snowy Shaw, I believe is his name. Probably.
One could say that, yeah, they were united, which is, their I think third album. I'm sorry, I'll stop now.
You can leave the jokes to me there, okay?
Yeah. My jokes are terrible, just like me.
Well, speaking of not terrible, next up is Circus Maximus.
Woo!
I was very pleasantly surprised by this show because, like, it's prog metal, but my like spectrum of prog goes from like boring prog to cool prog, and I'm pushing Circus Maximus squarely on the cool prog side of the spectrum. So congratulations to them. These guys had energy. They had like great banter, and they had stage presence. Like their songs actually go places. I was very happy with this show. Yeah.
So this is another band where I was already a big fan ahead of time. So yeah, that was it was thoroughly wonderful. I had expectations where I'm like, I want them to be good. If they're kind of like Fallout, whatever. It didn't matter. I don't know why I was like a little worried. I always get a little worried when you see a band live and you haven't heard like, what do they sound like? This was one of my favorite sets of the whole festival. They had a great set list. They played my favorite song by them, The Arrival of Love, which it's very upbeat and fun. It's just such a fun song. And their vocalist is incredible. Like I already knew he was good. I was like, I don't care what their set list is, but I'm pretty sure this guy is going to kill it live. And he did. He nailed everything. And they had a fantastic set list, including some of the older stuff that I kind of ended up haven't like touched on yet, that I'm like, well, hell, I'm going to have to check. And I did. I literally, it motivated me I already listened to them, but they made me want to listen to them more. And I feel like that's whenever you're like, I can't not listen to them after hearing them, they left such an impression on me. Like, holy crap. Especially, and I do agree with the banter. Like, sometimes the banter will like turn you off, like Thomas England, but like, I don't know. I was just so immersed in the performance that I thought it was like, oh, it's over. And like, they had it for like 90 minutes. And I'm like, oh, it felt short. No. It was an hour and a half. It just went by fast because you're just having a great time.
Yeah, and I think this is another show where I had, like a decent amount of whiskey in me, but still. That doesn't take away from the fact that I was very much impressed by these guys.
Oh.
When I was putting down my like most surprising or like ones where I basically just most improved over my general expectations, Circus Maximus I think was top of that list of just being like, wow, this was incredible.
Yeah, I had good expectations and they exceeded them, and I think that summarizes it well. Check them out. Yes,
please do. Finally, that brings us into the headliner for day one. This time it was Angra. So Angra, the classic Brazilian power and also sometimes prog metal band, featuring the immaculate Fabio Leone on vocals. These guys actually headlined, I think it was day 2 of the first ProgPower I went to in 2018, and they blew me away then. And I'm like, okay, they're going to be excellent this year. Lo and behold, they were excellent. Just like all around,
shocking.
Fantastic musicianship, great energy. Fabio is just, he's natural on stage. All the musicians, the bassist, the drummer, the guitarist, everyone is just bringing their A game all the time. And I was right up front for this show because I wanted to be there with the dudes, and I had a fantastic time.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it. I think the only real thing I'd be generally critical of is the set list.
Yes,
and I know they're like trying to put like oh, Cycles of Pain, check it out. And
yeah, this is technically part of the tour for the album Cycles of Pain from last year,
right?
And album I didn't love.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I was like, this one song's good, and they played it, so like that's good. But then they played a few other tracks, and I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, play the old shit. Like if just we missed a lot of stuff from like Temple of Shadows. They
didn't play Spread Your Fire, which is criminal.
That was I love Spread Your Fire, and they only played half of Carry On. Like they tried to mix that and Nova Era together, which is cool,
it's weird they do that.
Yeah, but like give me the full one. I mean, we got Nova Era and part of Carry On and something. I mean, it was still good. Like it doesn't matter what they're doing if they are performing music. They have great stage presence. They have fantastic music, and I enjoyed it. So I'm saying that despite the fact that they had a subpar set list, it was still fantastic, and I loved it.
Yeah, like even when they're doing a song that's, we'll say, not my favorite, I can still be impressed by just the general musicianship that's going on.
And I was vibing the whole time. I was up there with you. I think it was like further down to the right, but like I was up there. My feet were sore for some reason. I think it was just all the travel and stuff, but I was like, I don't care. I'm just so focused, and I unfortunately picked the wrong side because I didn't get enough Marcello, which really would have improved it, honestly. The more Marcello in front of me, the better, because he's hot, and also he's a really good guitarist.
That would do
shallow.
It. Yeah. You shallow person liking the attractive guitarist.
I know.
The giant dude.
And dude, he's really good.
And what was I going to say about Angra?
More Fabio talk?
Well, Fabio. Oh yes, you got your famous Rhapsody chart signed by Angra. This is what you were doing during the show earlier. You showed him the chart showing how complicated his career history is, and probably terrified him a little bit.
Yeah, he looked so confused at first. He did that big gesture where he was like trying to figure out what was going on. He just like almost did like wax off, wax on, like with his hands, like what is going on here? And then I was trying to tell him like, hey, this is just a map. Like you don't have enough time to explain what this shit post means. But in the middle of me trying to explain it to him, he does find a spot and he signs it right between the Rhapsody and Angra. So I'm like, he knew where to go. He knew where to go. So I'm like, he understood the assignment. And then, just seeing the first expression, he looks like, what the fuck? Hopefully he didn't think like, oh crap, this is the stalker that's going to kill me. I wouldn't kill you, Fabio. I am harmless.
No, Fabio's too valuable to us.
Yeah, right. We need you alive.
All right. Overall, I think this might have been my favorite day one of like my time going to Prog Power. It's usually kind of like a maybe a bit of a weaker day for me, but I was into this one. So hey, props to Nathan.
That's easy for me to say because that I literally this is just, I don't always buy the full festival tickets. So despite the fact I've gone to Prog Power 4 times, this is actually only my second day one. So it was better than the first one. So yeah, I'll absolutely take it. This was great. I mean, even if you ignore the first 3 bands, and I did enjoy 2 of them, those two the 2 final bands that ended the day were so good that I was like that was worth the price of entry alone, let alone getting, my shitpost signed and getting, Dark. I'm never going to see Darkwater, but like it was just a fantastic day. I think Nathan did a fantastic job. I'm looking forward to see what he does for day one for next year. I have my thoughts on next year's festival, but we'll get to that later. But this was a fantastic day.
Yeah, I guess one last thought about Angra I wanted to mention, because they're going to be going on a hiatus pretty soon here, which I think makes it a bit of an extra bummer that they didn't like just play more of the hits. But oh well, it was still a great show. Yeah,
for sure.
And one last thing I want to mention about like my experience at day one. So I was wearing my Old Gods of Asgard shirt. Now, Old Gods of Asgard is a fake band that does not technically exist. They just are part of, the like Alan Wake and Control, like Remedy versus video games, portrayed by the real band of Poets of the Fall, who was at Prog Power a number of years ago. But I got more comments on my Old Gods of Asgard shirt than like any other shirt I've worn to any other show or festival. So turns out, big fucking nerds at this year's festival. Shocking, I know, but it did make me kind of proud of the denizens of Prog Power to get so many comments on that shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I only recently found out about them, so I do find it hilarious. So like other people recognizing it and stuff, because like
it was
not gonna lie, because I did check out Poets of the Fall after finding out about them, and I'm like, they're pretty good. Like that was enjoyable. But man, the Old Gods of Asgard songs are just better than the Poets songs.
Yeah, so thank God for video games.
For sure.
All right. Let's get into day 2.
Woo!
Day 2 start off with Nospun, I think is how they say it. It's either Nospun or Nospun. I've heard them both. Nospun sounds stupider, but I think that's what they actually say. Anyway, these guys are actually from the Carolinas. They are proggy boys, and I had been hearing really good things about them from people leading up to this festival, and I really enjoyed their set. It was pretty solid. I liked their, shoot me if you've heard this before, but I liked the faster songs. It's wild. I gotta say, they definitely would benefit from having live keyboards. It seemed like a huge part of their sound was just was the keyboards, and they did not have that for their live show. Like when their vocalist was there, he was great. Their guitarist did a great job, but it definitely felt like that element of their live show was lacking. I definitely need to check out their studio stuff, though. It seemed like it'd be interesting.
Their studio stuff, meaning their only album?
Yes, which they actually started the show early to play the full album, which I guess it's cool if they were able to pull that off.
Yeah, and I love that. First off, this is weird because a lot of times where you hear, especially prog bands, for me personally, a lot of times I feel like a lot of prog bands that I've gotten into kind of have a little bit more of a rough debut and then kind of hit their stride, like either on the second album or later, like Pain of Salvation's Remedy Lane, like comes along later, so on and so forth, like that. They have nailed it with this, with their debut. I had no idea what this band was when we were just chilling in the pit when this was getting announced last year, and I was like looking up and I'm like, who are these? Like I was just like big shrug, like whatever. But then when I went to like research, I'm like, all right, let's finally sit down and listen to them. This is seriously one of my favorite prog metal albums. It's super good, and I'm surprised at how much of it does translate live. And I do agree, having a live keyboardist would have definitely elevated it a lot. But that singer nails it live. There's some bits of the guitars, like during like the Death of Simpson, which is my favorite track. The Death of Simpson and Earworm are my 2 favorites on it. But like they do. There's this like guitar thing. I'm terrible at terminology, but like where whatever it is, lick during the chorus that just it gives me chills, and it keeps doing this like every time. And during the live performance, I just found myself captivated the whole time. So for an opener to like set the bar this high, I was thoroughly impressed. For them to be this new band and this is their debut, everything about it was so impressive. And again, if you haven't checked it out, please check them out. It is definitely more proggy, and I'd say a bit less accessible than other prog bands. But I really like try even if this isn't like prog isn't your jam, definitely check it out, or at least Death of Simpson. I think at least I'm sure you would like that, and that was probably one of the songs you did like because it's a little bit less atmo and a little bit more. Hey, we got guitars.
Yeah, I didn't write down any like specific song names, but I want to say these guys were like an offshoot of another prog band, which would be like where their experience came from. That's what I'm trying to nail down here. So like if we look at like this,
I didn't do any research, so
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these guys just came out of nowhere and became like the prog boys of South Carolina or North Carolina, excuse me. Don't want to offend the Carolinas. All right, but hey, Nospun. I'll give them a spoon. They deserve it.
For sure. Yeah, they do actually look like new. Yeah, they're. I mean, I'm just going through like their stuff. Yeah, they're not on crap. They have no like stuff unless their stuff is non-metal. They have no other records on Metal Archives except for the bass player who's done a couple other small acts.
All right.
Hooray.
Let's jump into the next band, which is Termperance. All right, Termperance, a symphonic metal band from Italy, also featuring Kristen Starkey in performance 1 of 2, who we'll point out is from New York, but is Italian-American, so close enough, I guess, for what they wanted. So I quite like Termperance. I think they have quite a bit of pretty solid material. They can, when they do like their like more like poppy, catchy stuff, I think it's actually pretty good. I've gone into, I think it was like of Jupiter and Moons, and then their album last year was also pretty good. So I was looking forward to this show, and I'd say I have like some really high highs and some like not criticisms, but just like things where you have to temper your expectations, one might say, in that so much of their sound like is the symphonic stuff, which is all backing track, but then the live show itself felt very focused on the vocalists. So of the people on stage, they got the drummer, they have 2 lead vocalists, male and female, they have their guitarist who's also doing like lead vocals at times, and then the bassist. So of like the 3 of the 4 people in the front are doing lead vocals, this very much felt like a vocalist like showcase type of deal. And not that that's a bad thing, it's just might not be what you're looking for depending on which music you want them to be doing. But that said, I really enjoyed this show. I thought these vocalists were fantastic. They had great energy. Kristen is insane for doing this and her following show like nearly back to back. So I put this on another one that like really surprised me with how much I really enjoyed it. Because I thought it might just be like, oh, maybe they'll just be really boring with the symphonic stuff. But no, these guys put on a fantastic show, I thought. Yeah.
In general, I think this Prog Power felt... overall, this is going to be a trend where this was just a really impressive Prog Power. And there are definitely symphonic bands that I listen to, and it doesn't translate to the stage as well. And that happened a lot, I think, at like last year's Prog Power for me. But this one, this is, again, another home run for me. I enjoyed the performance. I like my favorite album by them is like Diamante, or I butchered their, please, I apologize, Mr. Italian, and you just don't kill me, guys. But like, no, it was a really good show, and I, as someone who does I like vocal focus. I think that's great. Although, like, give me riffs too, but like, give me both. But I love it, and I felt like them leaning into that was, I think, beneficial to them because they do, like you said, they have so much backing track that they need to lean on. I think like trying to be like, but look, we tuned up our guitars would have just, that's bad. Saying like, hey, let's make our songs, let's play the songs that are more like vocal focused. To like not there's it's almost like leaning on that crutch, but like pick what you know you're going to do live. Pick something that you know isn't going to fall flat in this kind of setting. And I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but they delivered and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I thought they had a pretty great set list. It was pretty much all of my favorite songs, I think. I love that during like a song with some Italian in it, they encourage the band to, or they encourage the crowd to do like the pinched Italian fingers. And it's like, see, it's not racist if they're telling us to stereotype them. It's fine.
Yeah, we're allowed to. They told us to.
Yeah,
we're
great.
just following directions.
It's like when, you know, like Aetherem tells you to do the tiny metal hands. It's kind of like that. You just rotate your wrist a little bit, I guess. So yeah, this was a very fun show, and I would definitely recommend checking it out.
And I think that like Italian hands moment also, it's funny when you could just like have a joke with the crowd and be like, hey, look this, and like they gave us a laugh. They had a lot of fun, and it's very contagious. I feel like that makes you know when you know they're having fun. Sometimes it's easier for you too. So they looked like they're having a blast, and it was definitely, it affected me as well, and I loved it.
I loved when Kristen like turned up the Italian American accent, like the New York type of stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Very different from her next show.
Yeah, night and day.
All right. Speaking of the next show, Earthsea was the next band. And,
Earthside?
Or was it Earth? Did I write down the wrong name?
It's
I wrote down
Earthside.
Earthsea. Am I stupid?
It's Earthside.
Oh, okay. Apparently it's Earthside. I wrote down the wrong S word. Case in point, we didn't see this band. We went to get dinner. Because that is the ProgPower way, where you have to pick a band to skip and go get dinner.
I can actually comment on them because I have seen them before.
Oh, you have seen? Oh, okay, let's start.
Yeah. So just a heads up, I didn't. Yeah. So like I said, I didn't see them at ProgPower, but they opened for Vola up in Detroit at this lovely tiny ass venue. One thing they don't have, they have like a bunch of guest singers. So when they do live performances, they pipe the vocals in, which is partially why we decided to skip them. A, we've seen them before, but B, you're just going to get like a screen that gets played, and it's actually really fun to watch. But like, you're not getting a vocalist. They're very much a stand still and jam kind of prog. And I'm like, I feel like if we have to pick a band to skip, the stand still and jam prog is probably the kind. That doesn't mean it's a bad show, but like compared to the others where you're going to get this like front person hyping you up, like you're going to want to hit those. So like we did not skip this band because we're like, they suck. I have enjoyed them. I've listened to their material a lot. I encourage people to check them out, but it's definitely a little bit more atmospheric. So if you're like, oh, I don't like atmospheric prog, it's probably not a hit, but I still encourage, if that's your vibe, they're very good. And they honestly, when they opened for Vola, I enjoyed their show. They didn't have a very long set. I think it was under an hour. But that was pretty fun.
They apparently didn't have a set list, is what I've been told. That's what they said on the ProgPower people on Twitter. So I don't know if they just like improv'd or decided in the moment what to play. But that's interesting that they can just whip it out like that.
Well, that's fun.
All right. Now, speaking of whipping it out, we had after our dinner, we got ready for Twilight Force.
Woo!
Now, Twilight Force, we had skipped them at Epic Fest. I saw their like tour opening for Gloryhammer this year, but this was like a very big special show for them, introducing the brand new members who had just been announced like the day before, their first live show, their first first time back in headlining, or not headlining, but playing ProgPower after like nearly a decade. And I think this was the most fun I had at any show at this ProgPower. Like, they handed out inflatable swords before the set, so everyone's rocking their swords to the Twilight Force. They threw out more swords into the crowd during the build-up to Thundersword. And the new members fucking killed it. Everyone is singing along. I didn't realize how many like Twilight Force lyrics I kind of just know. You kind of just go a bunch during the chorus and raise the sword up with like all your buddies, and it's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
I loved this show a lot.
This was definitely one of the most fun I've had in the whole festival. It was this, like, I had a little bit of anxiety going in, because here's the annoying part. I was like, okay, so I have 3 Twilight Forces this year. That's too much. So that's partially why I'm like, yeah, I'll go with the flow and skip them for Mad with Power to make sure I'm like I actually inside, for to see Fellowship, because I'm like, cool, we're gonna see that Prog Power plus the other one. But then I got flown out to California at the same time they were performing during the Glory Hammer tour. So this was the only time I got to see them, despite the fact in my head I'm like, I'm gonna see them 3 times this year. That was silly. But I was anxious because you've got the new members, and I was a little bit less anxious going into the show once I had seen them. They dropped the new video for the Battle of Arcane Might with the new members,
which is probably the best way to introduce your new members is to have the fun video.
Yeah, because it was like the new D&D members joining the party too. Like they I love how they leaned into it rather than they're not afraid to be like, I know we have this really nerdy stuff, but when we do this, we're gonna do it in the equally nerdy way. They're not shying away from it, and it's honestly just hard not to just join in and just think it's funny. I laughed the whole time, and I was enjoying it, and that was fun. So when we got to the show, I'm like, okay, cool. So they clearly got some very talented people, very excited. Wow, the live performance was fantastic. I cried a little bit for a few reasons. Number one, having that anxiety, everything melt away, be confirmed of this, they slap. This is they're playing bangers. They're incredibly talented. The sound's fantastic. It's amazing. I've listened to Flight of the Sapphire Dragon entirely too many times. They obviously played it, and I'm like, oh, and obviously,
and they threw the giant Sapphire Dragon inflatable tube out.
Yeah, and seeing some representation in Galen, that's very important to me. Overall, first off, she's amazing. That was incredible to learn all of Philip or Lind. Sorry, didn't mean to ruin immersion.
Yeah, who's Philip?
Who the heck is that guy? Yeah, but Lind, he writes some really intricate stuff that it's not easy to learn. At least that's what I've been told. I've been talking in the music making channel in Valhalla and following Galen on Instagram and checking out her commentary on picking up how to play these. It's clearly really it's I know it's all hey, we've got synthy doo and keyboards, but those solos are evidently a bitch.
Yeah, the one song I wanted them to play, what they didn't, is a Blade of Immortal Steel, and I get it. You're not gonna intro your new members with the 11-minute long song with 5 minutes of which is soloing or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, I'll give you that one.
And she actually put some of Blade of Immortal Steel on Instagram. You can hear some of the solo work of it.
So they're learning it.
Yeah, she's saying that was one of the hardest bits to learn from that Lind has written, and then showing it off. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds. I mean, it's intense, and I loved seeing the little bits of it. So, but yeah, first off, I would have loved to hear it too. But hearing their show, they had a great set list. I'm glad they had a good split. It leaned a little bit towards the new, because they played 7 songs from the new, but then they also played 3 songs from their third album, 4th from their 4, and then 2 and 2 from their first and second. So it was
relatively even split. Yeah.
There's literally just a few more songs leaning towards the new stuff, but they played several old tracks. We got 2 from their debut. Honestly, they could have skipped it, but I'm glad we got the ones that did. Twilight Horizon, obviously. Kristen did an amazing
Kristen
job.
Kristen had an hour break between Temperance and this.
Yeah, and she nailed it. And that's such a high note on that song, too. It's ridiculous.
Every time during Temperance, when she's doing a big scream or something, I'm like, yo, you got to save that, bro. You got another show.
Yeah, you don't ruin it. We need Twilight Force. But the fact that she nailed it for both was fantastic. Conti was wonderful. I swear the mixing for him was better live than I think the 4th album isn't as bad, but he feels almost a little bit maybe slightly buried in the mix on the 3rd album a little bit. And sometimes the guitars feel a little bit and if you're not doing solo work, it's mostly just add some texture to the verses. I felt I heard everything. It just felt really good. And I'm I know I was also in the middle, where the sound people are. So the closer you are to the center, the closer you are to whatever the sound people are hearing. So you're probably going to get a better sound. At least I think that's how it works. I think I heard someone say knows more about sound than I do. But so
you stand next to the mixing desk for the best sound.
Yeah. exactly. And I was right next to it. So this just in, it sounded amazing. I'm thoroughly impressed with them. I love the new members. I feel like even out of the other ones, I love how Blackwold, even though he like takes himself super seriously and all the stuff, clearly knows it's kind of hokey and dorky. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. I'm glad you're enjoying it. The get-ups get your attention. I 100%, just all the way. I loved it.
Yeah, so some other random little things here. They played Winds of Wisdom, which is one of my favorite songs of them. So I'm super happy that they did that. Fucking the other new guitarist, Bradley Hall, or Bradley Underhill, or something like that. So his gimmick was he was throwing these things out from the stage. God. I'm like, what's he throwing? And I got one at the end of the set, and it's a fucking mushroom. He's leaning into the Hobbit angle and throwing mushrooms at the crowd. It's like little baby bells or whatever.
I love that. Just how they know it's silly, and the fact that like he's supposed to be some Hobbit herbalist, halfling herbalist. Like, hey, guess what? You get mushrooms. Why? Who knows? It's just clearly like, involved with the character. They didn't have to do it, but it definitely adds some fun. It's just the whole thing, especially with the swords. They clearly know. Like, what do they have? They have magic, they have dragons, and they have swords. That's
yeah. Like honestly, like swords are awesome. Power metal people love swords. And incorporating that into your live show is something that I'm surprised more people don't do. Like I know Paladin did something similar a few years back. They threw swords out at the crowd. And so it adds to the whole festival because like you can keep using those for the rest of the festival, which is what I did.
Give us swords.
Yeah, give us swords. And then we did the signing later. I had all the new members or having all the members sign the inflatable sword that I have, and now it's like a collector's item for me. Like you can lean into the angle like, oh, enchant the sword with the mystical runes and whatnot. I had
very good Blackwold voice.
Yeah, so Blackwold was the last one in line at the signing. And I was like, oh, can you finish like enchanting my sword? He's like, oh, yes, the powerful sword here. And when I picked it back up after he signed it, I like pretended it was like really heavy and full of power now. And I got him to laugh and break character.
That's pretty great.
So I was proud of that. But yeah, everyone at the desk was very nice. I had Bradley also sign the mushroom. He advised me to not eat it, which I'm like, oh yeah, definitely not eating this Sharpie and venue floor encrusted mushroom. But it was made for some good pictures, so at least I got that.
Yeah, I met a couple of the band members out in the lobby, and Alessandro is absolutely lovely. He's one of the most chill dudes.
They were all just like hanging out for I think the next few days. Sometimes bands like just get the fuck out after their set, but they stuck around. They were all very nice. I literally
saw him every day. So Conte was like, yeah, we're just gonna chill every time. And I only saw Galen that night, and she was the kindest person ever. Like I mentioned that I like caught up and tried to listen to like her stuff on Azure, and she lit up when I mentioned that I liked like Weight of the Blade, and I'm like, I'd always tried to tell her that she did a great job in Twilight Force, but hearing like, hey, I went out, did some research and found the other stuff. It was so cute and adorable. So like, I'm like, everything about this band is fun, adorable, and lovely. And like, they clearly got some members that fit the vibe. So Twilight Force, you're amazing.
Yeah, I would definitely rank it as like the most fun of all the shows that at this festival, I think.
For sure.
All right. So now let's get into Leprous. All right, Leprous, big proggy boys, and it's all moody and weird. It's not really my vibe, but I I appreciated it.
Okay. I almost wonder if I'd enjoy this set more. First off, it was great. Secondly, I wonder if I would have enjoyed it more if I didn't catch their Pitfalls tour, because their set list for the Pitfalls tour was incredible. And this set list was not as good. It was, first off, it was good. They played several songs that I loved. So we're not going to say like, oh no, this sucked. No, it was fantastic. But they're like, once once you get their peak set list, you're like, well, what's there left to do? Like how do you top it? And it's really hard to. So I think the expectations were a little too high, and I think they almost just felt a little bit below it because they played several of the songs off of, was it Songs of Atonement? And a couple of them I just don't vibe with as much. I mean, I know that's very much a me thing, but they played several amazing songs. They went back to like their debut, which I'm like, I don't even listen to that. And so I'm glad they like added some variety. We got like my favorite song, Forced Entry. They dropped it early. So I could like, all right, I can relax. Because I'm like, I got the song I wanted. Forced Entry is amazing. But like, I thoroughly, Einar's does a fantastic job. And this definitely, outside of like the fact that they leaned like 4 or 5 maybe tracks on the new album, I think they still did a good variety. We got a couple from Pitfalls. Was it only one from Melina, which kind of sucks, but I would have liked more from that. But they played all the way back to their debut and several other songs. So giving like having such good variety, I think added to making it more interesting too. But yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job. But again, I do like prog a lot. So
yeah, I know like the more prog-minded folks like really loved this show, and I'm very happy for them.
Yeah, it was good. I thoroughly convince anyone. If Leprous is incredibly good live, Bard also. They're like watch their drummer live. He gets so into it, and he is incredibly talented. So like they did a wonderful job. I do think that this is another case of they're amazing, but their set list just brought them down just a tad, and that's very much entirely personal taste.
What? So do you like their older stuff, newer stuff? How does that go?
Mostly, I think their modern Leprous has been fantastic. I think Aphelion is really good. Like the Aphelion and Pitfalls were their 2 of their most recent releases, and they're incredible. I do think Songs of Atonement, they have a couple like a sinking ship. They played that song I really like a lot. So, but I feel like there's definitely more misses on the new album, and the fact that they leaned into it just leads itself to maybe I won't enjoy the setlist as much. It's entirely that. It's not bad, but it's definitely. It is, and it's a good album, but coming from a series of great albums, it's a step down for me personally. So, like, I've liked the previous 5 albums more than this one. So,
all right. Well, thank you for providing an opinion on Leprous, as I did not have much of one. All right, that brings us into the final band of day 2, which is Dark Tranquility. Dark Tranquility is a melodic death metal band from Sweden. And I'll say they're very pretty dark, pretty aggressive, pretty fast, like death metal-y stuff. Now, I remember a few minutes ago when I'm like, wow, Twilight Force gave us these swords that we can use for like the rest of the festival. Well, that really paid off here, because I spent the most of this show basically sword fighting in the pit or with the inflatable Twilight Force swords, which I think kind of confused the guys in Dark Tranquility, but they just kind of have to go with it. And so
I saw some of that pit fencing, and I'm like, what is going on? You're usually like, oh, moshing. I'm like, nope, they're fencing down there. Yep, that's what's going on.
Yeah, full on inflatable sword melee going on in the Dark Tranquility pit. Like, I was less like their music and performance was great. They did a good job, but I was only like, appreciating like the atmosphere of it while raising and swinging a sword.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. They had an odd presence in that like a lot of bands like they do like stage banter and stuff like that, and there almost was none. They like kind of just were like, hey, we're gonna do this. We haven't really done it before, stuff like that. They like lean into that, or hey, this next song's this. They just kind of explain it. There's not much jokes. Get right into it. But sometimes when bands are like, we'll just get to it, and they don't do a lot of like banter, I feel like sometimes it adds to it. And I thought it was fine here. Like
they played a lot of songs.
It was packed. It was so much songs. I wasn't like, this is not a complaint. But yeah, I thought they were pretty good. I think first off, I thought they were good. I'm not like as into them. I'm not like as big a Dark Tranquility fan as like Leprous. So I think that lends itself. But I stay for the whole performance, because I'm like, every song I'm like, oh, this is cool. Oh, this is cool. They added some more like music video stuff to the back that made it at least more interesting there. They used a lot of the stage when they did, like especially the singer. And I'm like, this was just a good performance. Also, man, they have some really fast shit. I'm like, oh wow, this has more energy than I thought. They were a little bit closer to like some of the later the bands that they've influenced, like Insomnium. But like, no, they've got some really aggressive shit in their repertoire too, in addition to like some of the like slower stuff. They've got good variety of songs. I think that added to the set list too.
Yeah, the aggression of the set list, I think, really added to the sword fighting atmosphere. So I hope they remember this show as the one where people were sword fighting to their performance, because that's what I remember Dark Tranquility for. All right, overall, hey, day 2, I was into this one as well. Obviously, I think Twilight Force really topping things off, but I also really like Termperance and Dark Tranquility in there.
Yeah, that same for me. Twilight Force was the highlight of the day, but in general, it was just a really good day. This was one of the best. Now, I don't know. Day 2s have been like really good. Like, it's the first time I went was Galnerius, so
yeah, right.
It's really hard to top that. But like, no, this was wonderful. Like, I enjoyed it, and I was very hyped. So, fantastic day.
All right, we'll move on into day 3, kicked off by the Canadian boys and Striker. Now, I think they had a tough ask of having this like kind of silly but like really high energy riffy power metal band, you know, pit vipered up, muscled, all flexing and whatnot, and doing that already a few days into the festival on day 3, and it's the first band. People are like still hungover, people are still tired, people are still trying to get through the merch line or the signing line for fucking Lovebites. But hey, these guys did put on a great show. They have lots of energy. Their freaking bassist is flexing his very large, probably dehydrated muscles every damn chance that he gets. I really enjoyed this show. I think it'll be better at Mad with Power when they're presumably not first, and I think is going to be a less dead or less hungover crowd as it won't be day 3. But I really appreciated this show.
I had a lot of fun. I've listened to a couple of their songs, a couple of their albums, and I enjoy them. I think I was definitely also kind of in I am very tired. So like I was sitting down and I was like, this was pretty good. I think I may have just been too old lady, but I was like that was perfectly good. They missed a couple songs I wanted to hear, but like overall I thought it was fine. I don't know. I can't tell if I was like not as into it, or if maybe I don't know, maybe the performance, or maybe it was just really fucking tired.
I think you just weren't awake yet.
I mean, that's also very likely. It was only like 2 in the afternoon.
Well, which I guess is early for a metal show. It's also early when, you know, like we're partying till like 3-4 in the morning. Well, at least I was, and then it's like, okay, I gotta sleep, and it's like I wake up at like noon, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta eat and get to the fucking festival, and it's like you know, it Prog Power, the marathon, it adds up.
Yeah, for sure. I know I was very tired.
All right, well, then we sat down for the next band, being Fifth Angel.
They were fine.
Yeah, they lean more into like a classic heavy metal style of power metal. Pretty old band. They've been around for fucking decades at this point. And I thought they were solid. I wouldn't say I was in love with their performance, but I enjoyed it well enough.
Yeah, it was pretty fine. I don't know. I think they're, for me, skippable. I don't know. They were fine. It wasn't like, oh my god, like maybe I should leave and go to Wine Hour and get something. Like it wasn't so much like I'm so bored. I was like, this is okay. I think you probably are enjoying it more than I was, but you know, not every band can be everyone's highlight. Like I loved all the prog stuff, but I don't think I was not the target audience for this.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes that I thought they were pretty rockin' for old guys.
Yeah, that's yeah,
which
that's
I think
fair.
is fair. All right. Well, speaking of dinner bands, next up was Elegy, which we went and got dinner during.
Yep. I've never seen them, and yeah. Rip.
I caught the first couple songs, and they seemed all right, but not something that I needed to stick around for when I wanted food. Such as the Prog Power way. My apologies. I'm sure you're very nice people. Which then we got real proggy with Soen.
So proggy. Oh yeah, they committed a crime.
What was that?
They didn't play my favorite song.
Oh well, I should file a complaint.
Yeah, I will. But no, I thought the set was really good. I mean, they played a lot of good stuff. They didn't play my favorite song, but they played a lot of good stuff. They're very Tool-esque. I think they've leaned a little bit away from that, but I think their debut has a lot of like stuff where I'm like, man, these guys like Tool. But like, no, I think they did a fantastic job. It's definitely very proggy. Kind of gets a little bit of the leaning into the idea of, hey, we came up with something and we're gonna repeat it and then add more layers on it or take stuff away, and that process of a lot of repetition, but then changing parts are like, hey, now that we've established this repetitive part, we're going to put a vocal over it. And it's kind of going to just leave into this groove until we all change at the same time. And it's like, I like that vibe. And they have a lot of that. That's kind of their shtick. I'm not sure how many people like pay attention to that kind of stuff, but I thought it was pretty great. It translates well to live. Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I liked how they kind of busted out some unusual instruments at one point. There was like maracas or bongos or something. They have a dude who plays guitars and keys, kind of switching back and forth. I always appreciate the versatility there. I think it was was this the band where we were waiting around the next day and someone's like, "Oh yeah, man, someone brought the house down last night," and I'm like, I don't really get like bring the house down vibes from a band like this. Like it's a good performance, but I'm not sure that's really the turn of phrase I would use for something like this.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would see them again if they performed again. But that's not how I describe it. I described it as incredibly technically proficient, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know. I do think that sometimes having more punchy music helps with that. I think the next band definitely brings more of that, but like I think Soen did I think they did an incredible job, and it was I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, so I think this was a perfect band to help us save energy before the next one.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
Being Lovebites. Lovebites from Japan. This was the band I think was most looking forward to seeing at ProgPower this year. It's their first ever show in America. I really like Lovebites as one of my favorite newer power metal bands. It's like, all right, what's this going to be like for the live show? And my God, it's a fucking onslaught is what it is.
It is. It's funny because like they had a long set. They used every second of it, and there's like no banter. It's just like, we are Lovebites. We play heavy metal. That's like all you get.
Everyone screams heavy metal back at them, which is fun. And then no banter, an hour and a half, no slow songs. It's all speed all the time.
I loved that so much because like they do have a couple of like either. Like the only thing we got that would be considered slow are they like mid-tempo. I don't know how to put it. They like almost mid-tempo anthem-y songs. That's as slow as they got.
There's no slowest... let's do a ballad halfway through. Like, no, fuck that.
Their slowest song would have been like considered a Sabaton fast song for real. Like, okay, not really, but like it was just riffs, like howling, lovely vocals, just everything. The only problem I had is evidently there was something up with the sound check. They weren't able to get something in.
And they had like sound and tech issues. They didn't have a proper sound check. And they were like constantly like fumbling with like Midori's like sound system or whatever while she's playing. It's just like impressive.
Yeah, Miyako's sound, like Asami and Miyako all sounded great. By sounded great, I mean mixed well. Every time you could hear a Midori, it was fantastic, but they clearly kind of screwed that up. Like, I think by around the fifth song, everything had generally settled for the most part. They did a couple of tweaks later, it wasn't enough that it was distracting, but enough that I think for the first song, I definitely noticed it. So I'm glad that they fixed it because I'm like, oh no, is it going to all be like, I was still enjoying it, but I'm like, this is not balanced correctly. But they eventually fixed it, that being they being the ProgPower staff, but Lovebites nailed it. That they have such great energy. They have great stage presence going around. It is something else. This was definitely one of the very elevated. You can tell they know how to perform. Like, there's some people who you can be like, oh yeah, they did a good job playing the music. Not only did they play the music, they performed. They played the crowd. We were all just in it, and I feel like once you have like a great group that's able to command the crowd and then also high energy, like we're dead. We're done for. We entirely sucked in the whole time. I was exhausted after that.
Yeah, this wasn't exhausting. Yeah, I was like so like sweaty and dead after this set. It was incredible. Like just watching Midori and Miyako doing like the dual back and forth or like in unison guitar solo stuff is just so fucking cool. And it's like all the time. Like I love it so much. And Asami does a great job with like the big screams that she does and interacting with the crowd. I don't know how they like look immaculate after an hour and a half of full speed heavy metal.
Yeah, like,
so props to their stylists.
I look like a hag after 4 songs. Like my hair is drenched. Like my makeup, like I found some better foundation. What I want what they have. Like, what are you doing? Like, what, especially their hair. Their hair is really what sticks out. Like their makeup, I can at least get it to where like my foundation and other like my mascara doesn't get screwed up. But their hair stays perfect the entire time through 90 minutes of a stressful. Like, what do you girls do? You guys are amazing. Please give me your secrets.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So yeah. Also love their outfits. Like the whole like all wear white and they all have their own like style of doing it. Like Midori clearly wants people to see how buff her arms are. And
well, yeah.
Miyako's cute.
She's a bodybuilder.
Yeah, she is. And Miyako's like kind of held up like legging thing, and Isami's like very pretty. They all have their own vibe, and I love it. It's everyone. Lovebites is as amazing as you expect them to be.
Yeah, so they did a few more shows in the U.S. after this one. I heard some people say that, like, I think they might have played a few other songs. The sound, I think, was supposed to be better because they had actual fucking sound checks. Yeah. Imagine that. I think both the California shows were sold out. So, hey, props to my state coming through, getting some good representation there.
I think my closest show is either an airplane or a 4-hour drive. So I'm like, well, ProgPower is going to be good enough.
Yeah, unless you just like went to Dallas, I guess, afterward or something.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Yeah, I think it may have been the Dallas. I think this is one of the cases where the closest show is just Texas. So yeah, glad I got to see them.
Yeah, they're definitely one to check out. If like I don't know how much they're doing in other countries for their upcoming shows, or if they're just going to mostly stick with Japan. But man, if you get a chance, definitely check them out.
For sure.
All right, and that brings us into the headliner for day 3, Amorphis.
For Amorphis, how I've complained a couple times, like how like this band, despite for like Angra and for like Leprous, where I'm like I really enjoyed these guys, despite their set list. Amorphis,
this set list was incredible.
Amorphis had the opposite problem, where not the opposite, but like they definitely were like, hey Alice, what if we gave you the best set list that you could have picked? Like, if you picked this out, you would have picked the same thing in your dream set list. Almost dream. Like, they missed like one of my favorite songs and played like 14 of my picks. Like, yeah, that's stupid. That is dumb. That is overpowered. And it was amazing.
Yeah, I think so. Amorphis is a kind of an odd band to categorize. They're like very melodic, sort of mellow death, sort of prog. Like, they're hard. I don't really know how to categorize them.
Like whenever I was trying to describe the B to someone, I'm like, I guess it, like that specific song, I'm like, it's kind of like symphonic progressive melodeath, and the person's like, that doesn't help me at all.
It's like you have to say like 5 genres to even vaguely describe them. And I feel like they're not like a super fast band, they're not like a crazy heavy band, but like the melodies of their songs, their performances are just so fantastic that I'm just like, I think being extremely exhausted after Lovebites was like the perfect setup for something like this, because then I was able to just like kind of vibe out to the sort of like mystical like sensations that they have going on, and it made for like an ideal back-to-back band scenario.
Oh, for sure. Like there's sometimes during some songs, I know you're like when you're live, you're supposed to like watch the band. But there's several times when I've watched some shows where I just end up closing my eyes and immerse myself in the sound. And this happened several times for Amorphis, where I'm like, the soundscape just teleported me out of where I was. And I'm like, I'm so tired. And I'm in wherever they're taking me for like Wrong Direction or 7 Roads Come Together, Northward. Like they open with Northwards and stuff. And I'm like, this was just, it was wonderful. And they nailed it. The last time I've seen Amorphis was 2019, and this was just a better set list. The performance was perfect. Whatever sound issues they had, clearly Amorphis, they sound tested it more. Like 10 out of 10. I absolutely would love to do this again. And like they had a good variety. They went back all the way back to Tales, because like they were a different band back then. Like for Black Winter Day and the oh crap, what's that song? The Wayfarer. They played they dug into the old songs back when they weren't even like Melodeath, and that's lit. So yeah, like we got a great variety, and like just like the best of. They're like, yeah, we're gonna only play the 3 best songs from Queen of Time. We're gonna play a few from their new album, but only the really good ones. Like we're gonna lean into.
I think The Wolf was one of my favorites on that.
Yeah,
like that's
they
a fucking
dropped
banger.
that too. Yeah. And then they're like, we're going to only play 2 from Eclipse, but like the 2 best songs. So the only thing I would have wanted more was like a little bit more from Skyforger, but like I'm not.
They played The Sky Is Mine.
They played They played Sky Is Mine and Silver Bride. You know what? If you only get 2 songs from there, I'll take those. Like I would have liked Skyforger or Sampo, but like whatever. Fantastic. The whole time I was like, oh, that was just great. And I do agree. Juxtaposing them with Lovebites, it was I was like, I'm exhausted, and they teleported me to. I felt like I was in Scandinavia enjoying a nice little sauna or whatever. I don't know what they do there.
I do have to levy one small nitpick against the show, and that's For Amongst Stars, one of my favorite songs by them. Now the studio version has Annika von Giersbergen as a guest female vocalist, and I'm like, I wonder what they're gonna do for that part of the show. They have all it's a festival. There's all these other people here who could, maybe come in and do that part. But no, her vocals were just on the track, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing.
I'm sad Kristen Starkey didn't come out for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh fuck, Kristen's here, she'll do it. She hasn't been busy enough. Fuck it, she can come out for 30 seconds to sing this part. That would have been
hilarious. I mean, I would have died, but like you're absolutely right. I was waiting to see who they get brought in, so it was just Annika piped in. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing, but I mean, the whole rest of the show, fantastic.
Yep, 10 out of 10. I love this day.
Yeah, I think the middle was a little lower down for me, because I'm like Fifth Angel, Elegy, Soen, are all ones I'm just kind of okay on. But I think I almost needed that gap to really prepare me for the very strong ending of the last 2 bands.
Yeah, I enjoyed Striker. They're fine, but then the last 3 really nailed it for me. So like that was great. I still think I enjoyed, like, on the whole, day 2 better, but day 3 just finished super strong, and I'm like, this was amazing. Like,
yeah. Hey,
I loved it.
The ending of something is the most important bit, right? That's the most memorable part.
I haven't seen Amorphis in forever. I've never seen Soen. I know they tour a bit, but I just haven't been able to catch them. This is obviously my first time seeing Lovebites, and like all 3 of them nailed it. I think the later 2 clearly did a fantastic job in what they brought. So, yeah, this is, again, holding up to, this was one of my favorite prog powers. I know, like, everyone said, like, your first prog power, kind of hold on to it a little bit more, but like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like this one really, really leveled it up.
Did you see the, backstage pictures of Amorphis and Lovebites together?
Oh, that was super cute. Yeah, I did. I saw it on Insta.
The vibes are so different.
Yeah, it's super cute. Like, I love seeing Lovebites with other, like, bands that they like, because I like remember the picture of Mio and Haruna with Hansi, and I was like, it's so weird to see like these lovely ladies with Dad Hansi, and I'm like, the juxtaposition just makes me laugh,
because the girls in Lovebites are what, a good 5'2" in heels or something.
Yeah, they're not tall.
Oh man! And then they're with these like Finnish or giant dudes.
Yes,
it is funny, but hey, they all put on a great show, so I'm here for it.
For sure.
Another little thing I'll mention about the Prog Power experience. So the classic Prog Power after party is down the block at this hotel called the Artmore. And there's like a big courtyard. Everyone gathers. Band members are there. People are there. Free alcohol. People just bringing stuff. It's great. However, it was closed last year for renovations. And we're like, oh, it'll be back open again this year, right? And not exactly. So the hotel is open again. It's under new management. It's under a new name. It's been all like made to look super nice and fancy. It's called the Granada or something, but they should call it the Fuck You Metal Nerds because they don't want us there anymore.
Yeah.
There is no more after Artmore Party at ProgPower.
I heard that was actually what it was originally called during the early days of ProgPower. Obviously, I was not there. And they changed to the Artmore. And then when the new management got it, they changed it back. But then, even then, they used to, under this name, accept ProgPower, supposedly. And now, this one, they're like, no one here. And it was kind of sad because I did enjoy partying out with you for just like a couple of the nights. I know I wasn't out every time. You're a little bit more of a party animal than I am. I'm old.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is about like the atmosphere of these like festival after parties where it can kind of give me a second wind. Because like at the shows I'll be like, fuck man, I'm so tired. But maybe it's the fresh air, maybe it's the free booze, maybe it's the good company. It all just kind of energizes me a bit more to somehow go till 3 or whatever in the morning. Luckily there is so they have like the new official after party at ProgPower is in like the loft section, which is like another bar just like above center stage. I don't really enjoy going there for the after party because it's like it's stuffy, like the music kind of sucks, it's hard to hear people, the alcohol is overpriced because it's venue prices for the drinks, and like that's not the spirit of the after party. So luckily some friends of ours go to another hotel nearby which has a smaller but reasonable enough courtyard out front where everyone brings snacks and alcohol and just has a grand old good time. So luckily there is still a party to go to even if it's not the Artmore party.
Where we will, if you bring it they'll come or something, whatever. I don't know what it is, but if you build it they'll come. Whatever. I haven't watched Wayne's World in like 50 million years, but like if you will start a metal party in Atlanta after ProgPower, metalheads will find their way there. Yeah, we were out at like 3 a.m. and there was like some guy just like walking back from some other bar in Midtown, and he just like saw people partying in public at 3 a.m. and was like, oh, hey, I'll join this. So we're like, yeah, we're metal people, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. I'll check out some of these bands. So yeah, it's just a strange thing to come across, I suppose. Being like, who are all these long-haired freaks partying out in the middle of nowhere at 3 a.m? Weirdos.
Yeah, so it goes. All right, well, let's get weird with it for the last day, which is day 4. We open this up with Frozen Crown, power metal from Italia. So Frozen Crown, pretty solid overall band. I like their music. I think we were talking earlier this year about how I don't like them as much as I wish I liked them. But I was looking forward to the live show to see how this would go. And overall, I would say it was about what I expected in that they were solid. I think they maybe need a bit more stage presence, maybe need a bit more charisma. I know half their members are like actually like 20 years old, so not the most experienced. But I think they're like fostering that younger talent, which is good for them. And I still really enjoyed this show. I think it was perfectly adequate for a power metal show. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it.
I definitely going to echo that. I'm also on a different tier where I kind of tried to get into them a while back, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I should like them, but I'm just not going to listen to them. And I decided to listen to them more because of this, because I do think that they're pretty good, but also at the same time, it wasn't like, oh wow, that was amazing. There's definitely something I like wanted more about watching them specifically rather than listening. But seeing as they had all those guitars, they had like so many people. It was at least fun to watch them. But I feel like they could have done more, and I feel like their songs sometimes got like they kind of blended together. Overall, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like, oh, this is the best thing ever. It was good. I'd say like it was a solid performance.
Yeah, I think they got better as the show went on. Maybe got a bit more comfortable, a bit more warmed up. I like the singles for their upcoming album, so maybe this will help them out a bit more. They have 3 guitarists now, they said they specifically did to like bump up the sound during the live show. But I almost felt like the guitars weren't like that noticeable in the sound. I don't know if they had like a weird mix or what, but it struck me as odd that the guitars weren't as like, didn't feel the way I thought the 3 guitars should be when they like explicitly go out of their way to have 3 guitars for the live show.
It could have been more punchy.
Yeah, which I think is a bit disappointing, but I'm not sure if that's so much on them versus just something with the venue or whatever it was. Like, it is wild that like they hired literal children for their band.
Yeah,
because like one of the guitarists I think like just turned 18 or something.
Jeez.
Which I'm like, I don't know.
They looked super young.
Yeah, I think the 2 girl guitarists are like literally like 18 and like 20 or something. And then I think their drummer maybe is also really young, if I'm remembering correctly.
Jeez, I feel ancient now.
Yeah. What were you doing when you were 20? Were you playing international power metal festivals?
No, I'm a nobody that no one cares about.
But yeah, overall, I've mentioned like the performances that like really surprised me. This is one I think didn't surprise me at all. It was exactly what I expected. Pretty solid. I still want more from Frozen Crown, and I'm really hoping they give it to me at some point here because it just something's missing. You know, that X factor, that spark. It's got to be there.
Yeah, it does appear that one of their guitarists is 27, but the other just turned 18, and the drummer's young. Yeah, they're really young. 27 appears to be one of the... Oh, nope. And I was going to say, the vocalist looked a little... She looks like she's 39. I was going to say, in my opinion, she looked like around my age. And look at that. She is. So, not to say that... I don't know. She's gorgeous. The whole band's gorgeous. So
yeah, some of the best hair of the festival.
Gosh, I'm so jealous. I always get jealous of like great hair.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that as well. All right. Well, don't get too disillusioned.
Your jokes are worse.
Nonsense. All right. So next up was Disillusion, a very heavy prog band. We got the proggy pit opening up. One of our friends was saying like this is going to be like the best fucking band of the festival, and I would say I enjoyed them, and I need to listen to more of them. Yep.
Same boat. I thought they're very good. I had never heard of them, so going from never heard of them to it was very good. I enjoyed it. They definitely had better stage presence than I don't know how to put it. They kind of almost were one of those bands where they had to kind of hold still because whenever like someone playing an instrument also has to sing, they might get magnetized to the mic stand. But despite that, I still felt like they were fun to watch regardless. Not like the most fun, but like there's definitely some bands where they do that same thing and then it kind of just starts to be a little bit more stale to watch. So you should have like some other element. I feel like Vola sometimes gets a little bit like static, but then they do some fun light stuff behind them. So they didn't have the gimmick. So, but I still enjoyed them. Their songs are good. So like clearly we were told, hey, they're good, and this just in, they are. So that was nice. But it wasn't great. But I'm still gonna put it under very good. I'm glad we got to see them. Would absolutely see them again. Definitely. I saved a couple of their tracks. I don't think I have them memorized right now. I should have pulled them up, but they're definitely ones I'd encourage people to listen to. I think that guy did overhype them a bit because he was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And it was only very good. Like, I was expecting my mind to be blown. I wanted it.
Yeah, my mind wasn't blown, but I did enjoy the band quite a bit.
Yep.
All right. Not to cast any shade, but let's talk about Illumishade.
You talk about Illumishade. I started to get sick.
Yeah, this is when you started not feeling well with what turned out to probably be COVID. Whoopsies.
Yeah. The weird part is because I was having a panic attack for other reasons. I got my medicine. It kicked in, but I think that made the other stuff worse. So I literally was in my hotel. I fell asleep because I took a bunch of meds then for the next 3 bands. So take us away. I might do some commentary on the bands if I recognize them, but I have nothing to say on Illumishade. Tell us more about them.
So they're basically a symphonic metal band. I best know them as being the other band of Fabio and Ernie from Elegy. They're basically like, what if Elegy was less interesting? Because they don't have like all the cool folk stuff. So I'm not like super into Illumishade. I like Fabian as a vocalist, and I think she was definitely the best part of this performance. She gave a great vocal performance. She's, very great stage presence. I also appreciate that this is a symphonic band that has live keyboards, which, like we say, always adds so much more to this style of band. There was one song where Fabio even did harshes, which I didn't know she does, but I was a bit caught off guard and surprised by that, because normally all the harshes are in Elegy are done by other folks. But yeah, overall, solid enough show. Good for it's day 4. I don't have a lot of energy. I gotta be really selective with where I expend it, so I'm okay with having some chiller bands on day 4 to really help me save that up. But overall, solid enough show. Not a band I'm super thrilled about, but I like it well enough. Have you listened to that much before, or were you just like, yeah, it's fine?
This is fine. I do agree. I like Elegy better. I've heard a couple of bits of them. I knew they were symphonic. I honestly did not know she was in this. I don't know how I didn't know. Yeah,
when I first saw this band, I'm like, oh, hey, I really like her. Let's check out this other band. And I'm like, oh, this isn't as good.
Yeah, it's not a performance issue. I just didn't like the songs that I heard, so I just was not excited about them.
All right. Well, that brings us into what I think is one of the most interesting or most memorable shows of the entire festival, and that was Damian Wilson.
I'm very sad that I missed this because I do like Damian Wilson.
Yes.
So some of the stuff he's done for Arion is great, and I also love his work in Threshold, especially in Wounded Land. So, very sad.
I know Damian best from his work with Arion, but he's been around in like the prog metal and sphere for a while. He did some like West End like musical stuff too. He was like John Valjean and Les Mis, which is wild. So he's a legit fucking singer. And like I ran into him in front of one of the hotels just walking around the day before this, grabbed a picture with him. Nice guy. And like I know he's a great vocalist. So I was looking forward to this show, but knowing that they're probably gonna do like a variety of songs, I don't really know what to expect like musically from this. What is he gonna do? And in terms of like expectation versus enjoyment, I think this was the best show at the fest for me, because like easily the best vocal performance of the entire festival. I'm not a super technical judge of that, but in terms of just me just being like, damn, this is a fucking singer, I think I would give it to Damian. He was fantastic, and just like he captivates the crowd so much. And like the second song into this set, he steps over the photo pit, is standing on the railing, and then stage dives. And we're holding him up. This is the second fucking song. I've been to hundreds of shows, and none of them have ever had a guy jump off the stage. Ever. Let alone the second goddamn song. So, like, this happens, and I'm like, oh my god. We're in for a fucking show here. And then, like, the next song, there's like, it's proggy stuff. There's long instrumentals. He just, like, pops up in the back of the venue, and is just, like, high-fiving everyone. And then he comes down to the floor, and he splits the crowd, and he finishes the song while just, like, standing in the middle of the crowd. And then, like, later in the set, he stage dives, like, twice more. This guy is insane.
Oh, God, that sounds terrifying, not gonna lie.
It was amazing. This was an absolute top-tier show. And not to take anything away from the instrumentalists. So, like, their keyboardists, their guitarists, like everybody was doing a fantastic job. And what's even crazier, so it was the keyboardists who I think basically put the instrumentalists or like the whole actual band together. These guys were put together just for this show, just for this festival. They had met like the day before and had one rehearsal, and they pulled off something like this. It was goddamn incredible. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing from this performance. So yes, Damian Wilson really killed it. One of my absolute favorites at this festival. Like, I didn't really know too many of the songs. They play, I think, 2 Arion songs, including the Druids Turn to Stone, which, like, the whole crowd, shouting the name of the song back to them when at like that climax of the song was super fun. Like, I this of all the shows that you missed, this is the one where I'm like, oh man, Alice would have fucking loved this.
I'm sure I would have. That was, I literally I actually woke up for it, looked at my phone, and all I thought was, like, this isn't a panic attack. I think I'm actually sick. And I went and took more meds and laid down instead of going to the show. And then when I went back to the show, I did wear a mask for the rest of the time. because I'm like, I think I'm sick. I didn't think it was COVID, but like, I'm really sad I missed. I'm sad I missed Damian Wilson. I was looking forward to him. I was even hyping Stephanie, who had no idea who this was. Like, oh, you guys, this is really good. So I was the hype person for Damian Wilson for a couple people, and then none of us. I was like Cliff, who was with us, also, and then all three of us were not feeling well enough to go to the show, and I'm sad because I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah, their guitarist came by the like unofficial after party that we were at later, and so I was talking to him. That's where I got some of these details, and he was a really nice guy. He was cool to talk to. Mikey, I believe was his name, and so I was asking him, like, did you know that Damian was going to do all this crazy fucking shit? And he said at the rehearsal, their one rehearsal, he said like, oh, I might do something like this, and they're like, oh, okay, sure. And then he did every single thing that he said he might do. And I guess it was just like really incredible to work with. And just the way this guy was able to captivate this audience was just mind blowing. Truly an incredible show. So like if he ever shows up in a band that you get a chance to see, I highly recommend it because it's truly incredible.
See ya.
If I had to have one tiny complaint, it's that he didn't play my favorite song that I know he does with Arion, that being Intergalactic Space Crusaders, which is a kind of a stupid song, but it's really
a good
fun.
Song, though.
And like you watch the videos of him doing it, and like he gets so into it. Like they would need to pull up another vocalist for that. Is usually how it works. But still, I remember when right before the show started, I was talking to a friend of mine out on the floor, and said like, I'm curious, I'm interested in the show, but I don't know if I'm excited for this show. And my God, I should have been, because it was really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll stop giving you the FOMO there.
No, I'm just keep going. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, well, after Damian became the famous, the infamous, the one that we were all memeing on, it was time for Winger. So Winger,
did you listen to the poll beforehand?
So I was the whole past year, I've gone back and forth. I'm like, should I listen to poll? Should I go in blind and just appreciate it at that moment? And I ended up just going in blind. I had not listened to a single Winger song before watching this show from them. And I'll say, they did put on a good show. Like, they did everything live. They had, like a very impressive guitarist. I thought, like, whenever they pulled out, like, the guitar solos, I was very happy with that. Like, they did, like, live, like, fucking harmonica and the gang vocals. It all sounded very good. I think they said they, like, bought the same sound system as the venue to, like, rehearse with or something. So this was, like, a very crafted show. Like, one of the guys, like, brought in his brother to, like, play an extra instrument for them because it's like they wanted to get it perfect. So I really did appreciate, like, the musicianship that they had going on here. They did put on a good show. So they did, I think after they had finished Poll, they did more of their, like, classic stuff that also kind of, like, crowd pleases for, like, the boomers and whatnot, which, like, I was sitting up in the seats, but you could tell, like, the people on the floor and the people, like, shouting stuff at them between songs, like, I think it was the older crowd who was most excited for this. Whereas I was just kind of appreciating it for what it was. It does feel weird to call them, like, the headliner of a metal festival, quote unquote, right. Headliner, because they were playing second to last because of schedule things, I guess. So was it like a complete disaster like we were sometimes memeing that it would be? Definitely not. They still put on a very entertaining show.
I decided to listen to a little bit of Poll because I like when I went back and heard, I'm like, oh, I have heard Winger before, like back from like radio stuff. So like they clearly, like, I had heard them, I just didn't know that was the band. So yeah, I initially when I was like, who? I'm like, oh no, I have heard them. But when I caught a little bit of Poll, I'm like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting, like, I don't know, just standard, like, stompy glam rock stuff, but it sounded better.
It's not really that.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I see I can see why, but I'm like, I'm not into this, but so I wasn't really especially thinking I was going to see it, but it definitely wasn't, like you said, the disaster. So I'm glad that it was at least for you that I'm glad you got what you got.
Yeah, I don't really feel the need to go and listen to a bunch of Winger after this, but I can respect them as musicians and putting on a good performance here
For sure.
even if Glenn did get it's just so goddamn defensive of his pick to have them to a point where it's more fun to just make fun of them than to like them. But oh well.
Honestly, the fact he got so defensive, like just own it instead of like, because he was like, no, you guys are gonna love it. Like, no, say this is my fest. Like, just say it. Like, this is your fest. I really wanted Winger. Do it. Just say it, because it's like the idea of like, nah, they're gonna convince you. I mean, I listened to them. I don't think I was gonna be convinced with the like from what I heard, but it's okay. Not everyone needs to like what you like. I think that applies to everyone though, for real.
Yeah, well, my opinions are correct. Everyone else is fucking stupid. So
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, you got to consider that. That's important.
Yeah, you nailed it there.
All right, I can't help it if my mind is just so pagan. All right, that brings us to the sort of headliner, maybe second to last, but actually last band, that being Pagan's Mind, a prog power band that really, I think, just kind of embodies both sides of prog and power, because there's just so much like shreddy noodling on like the guitars and keyboards going on for this band. I thought it was pretty cool. I was goddamn exhausted by the end of this festival, where I didn't really have a ton of energy to expend for them, but I thought they were very impressive musicians. Their vocalist was very charismatic. He did a great job when he was there. The keyboardist, some people thought looked a lot like me. I don't know what they're talking about, but he did a great job too. So hey, maybe it is literally me.
Yeah. I saw the similarity, so not gonna lie. It was weird because I was like trying to think of like my thoughts on like the commentary for Pagan's Mind, because I'm like, they leaned into their older wait, never forgot. They've been on hiatus for like so long, and so, like they only have old material to like lean from. But like I know they dropped some stuff around like 2012 or something. I forget the exact years, but so it's not like they've been inactive since forever. But like, leaning onto like pulling some stuff from Celestial Entrance and Heavenly Ecstasy. They had a good mix. They played their best song. I was like, I'm waiting for it. And then when the vocalist just leans in and goes, "Follow the fire." I'm like, oh, there we go. We're getting it. And, I don't know. They did a fantastic job. This was, for me, the highlight of the day. I only because I missed Damian Wilson. I'm sure I would have loved him, but I did come back. Just chilled. I wasn't able to stand. I'm like, I'm sitting. I can't.
Yeah, I was standing for the first like 2 or 3 songs. I'm like, that's enough of that.
Yeah, but this is they did a fantastic job. I was impressed because the sound was amazing. The singer, like I'm like, especially for bands that go on hiatus, you think, is it gonna? No, he nailed it. They did a fantastic job. That set list was good. They hit my favorite songs. And that's important, that play my personal favorite songs. Otherwise, it's shit, which we've demonstrated before. But like, yeah, fantastic. It's wonderful. Also, especially because like, when was another chance that I could have seen Pagan's Mind in the U.S.? It wasn't a thing that I could have seen. So when they got announced, I got thoroughly excited. It's never been like one of my favorite bands, but they've always been a band that I've enjoyed, and I've just never had the opportunity to see them. And seeing them was lovely, and I'm so glad I got to. So,
yeah, I hadn't really dived into their discography very much, so I just wanted to be like, all right, let me just see what these guys got. And I was very impressed with their performance. This was the note on Sales FM says this is their first live show since 2018. That's nuts.
Sounds about right. I know that they like stopped for a while. So, and I don't know, when's their most recent album? Like, I feel like they haven't even made stuff in a while.
January 2018 was their last live show. Before that was 20. And then they did like one show a year for like the 3 years before that. So yeah. That just makes us even more impressive that they came out of retirement basically to do this.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't wrong. Heavenly Ecstasy is their most recent album, and that was 13 years ago.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Hey, so they still got it, if you ask me.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like, oh yeah, your favorite song is from their new album. Oh yeah. Like seriously,
The new
oh, yeah,
album.
the new album. The song my favorite song of theirs is 13 years old. Like okay, quote new. So that's why in my head I'm like, man, they're leaning on their old material because I know all this. Like, duh. The 2011. Like I mean, I know they initially came out in like 2000, so they've been around for a bit, but like not like the old like the OG like prog people like with not prog but like the powery kinds of the Blind Guardian, Strato, and Halloween and stuff. But like they've been around for they've been on there for a while. So I'm really glad we got to see them. I'm glad they got the extended set list too, because like if they got Pagan's Mind for a short set list, I would think I would have been sad. So I'm glad we got the full time. It was lovely. 10 out of 10.
And that brings us to the very end of the festival. So wrapping up day 4. Overall, I think I had a really good time at this Prog Power. If I want to rank like my favorite bands, basically I would pick one per day with an extra one on day 3. So I'd say Angra, Twilight Force, Lovebites, and Amorphis, and then Damian Wilson. So those would be top 5 in order of when they happened. What about you?
Circus Maximus.
Excellent
Twilight,
too, yeah.
Circus Maximus, Twilight Force, Lovebites, and Pagan's Mind. And to add another one, I would have picked Amorphis. So it was similar, but like I feel like we got some more. Like, I don't know why Circus Maximus really did stand out for me, because I feel like it was tough to pick them over Angra. But they had me so immersed, and I'm like, man, I love this folk. God, his voice is so.
Yeah, on my 3 like surprise me bands, I put Circus Maximus, Termperance, and Damian Wilson, all of which were really good. With just they brought so much to it, more than I really could have reasonably expected, I think.
Yeah, well, all the picks that you picked were great.
Well, of course they're my picks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Kyle would never lead you astray.
Nah, of course not. All right. Well, speaking of leading, let's lead into next year, because they announced some of these upcoming bands.
Alrighty. You want to start on day 2? Because we don't have day 1 yet.
Yeah. Well, so they announced day 3 and 4 first, and then day 2, and then later it's going to be day 1, because fuck it. But we'll start with day 2 just to go in like a reasonable order.
Right.
So starting off the day will be Alterium, which is, I believe, Italian symphonic power metal band. We caught them at Epic Fest this year, and they didn't even have like a full album out yet, so I didn't really understand what their identity is going to be, but I think next year for ProgPower they should, and I'm looking forward to it. I thought they did a decent job at Epic Fest.
Yeah, Alterium's good. That's a good pick. They're very unheard of. Like when we're at Epic Fest, I'm like, I don't know who these people are.
Well, because they had just formed out of the ashes of was it Calidia?
Oh yeah. That's a good point. I literally forgot that was a continuation of that. Sometimes I forget things.
Yeah, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is Maestric. I'm not familiar with this band.
Not familiar either.
Hopefully they're cool. I think they're prog.
Yep.
I assume they are. Speaking of prog, next up is The Ocean, and they are going to be performing an album in its entirety. I believe. What was it called?
Oh, I know. It's their best album. What is it?
Yeah, everyone who knows who they are says this is their best album. So that gives me, hope for this will be cool. They are playing Wikipedia, The Ocean band.
Pelagial,
that's the name of it. Everyone says that's the best one. I saw some guys saying like, oh shit, I might actually have to go to ProgPower for this. So hey.
I only caught them initially when they did Phanerozoic, whatever, 2, like, was it Mesozoic Scene? Is it? I probably screwed it up. Something like that. And I caught that tour, and that's how I've seen them before. They're fantastic. I don't know if they're a U band, just so you know. But
yeah, no, I don't think they are, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
They're really good, and that one's definitely their best album. Or really good. I haven't gone all the way back. It's the best album of the albums I've listened to. I've listened to like 4 of them, and I think they have maybe 6, 7, 8 somewhere in there. So, very good. I'd be down for that set.
And then after that, we got Iron Savior.
Savior, bitch.
Which that'd be fucking sick. Like their album last year, I thought was incredible. Yeah. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing them. I think this will just be some pure power metal that will be really fun.
Do you want high energy fun? Do you want some riffs? Do you want power metal? They're just going to give you everything you want from it. It's going to be high energy. It's going to be great. There's going to be riffs, and it's going to have a great time. Love this pick.
Yeah, Iron. That's a fantastic one. I never thought I'd get to see Iron Savior.
Yeah,
So it's one of those where I'm really glad they're going to bring him over. Then we got Vola. I mean, like, when Vola came up on the video, I'm like, that sounds familiar. Didn't we just see them? And this is, I think, the fastest turnaround on a band returning to ProgPower, because they were just there in 2022, I think.
Yep.
Or 2023, rather. Or
was it 20? Yeah, it was 23. Yeah, damn, dude.
So yeah,
last year.
I think I liked them well enough. They're not one of my favorites, but fuck it, they put on a good show. We'll bring them back.
They're good. They lean a lot into Witness, which is my favorite album by them, and also it's a newer album, but like they're really good. So I don't dislike that pick. I've seen them twice already, so it's a little bit less of an ooh moment for me. Ooh.
Well, speaking of ooh, Wolves and the headliner is Sonata Arctica, which I feel like is a sort of conflicting headliner for me. On one hand, all the Sonata Arctica shows I've been to have been in their like not great era, but supposedly they like power metal again. And hey, I thought the last album was pretty solid, so hey, they might actually put on a really good show. I'm very much
enjoyed the new album. Also seeing their I saw a set list that someone posted from a more recent show post the album, and they stopped leaning on like the was it Ninth Hour and some of the other stuff, and they've gone back further, and they're doing a little bit more of the metal-y stuff.
Did they play the Cage again now?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God, because I've never seen that. I've only seen them on Ninth Hour and Talvio tours. Okay.
Oh, dude, that's okay. That's this is where being old has helped, because I got their I've seen the Reckoning Night and their Unia tour. So like, you should have just been to those. The Reckoning Night tour was overpowered.
Yeah, I'm sure. They only had good albums back then.
Exactly. So and also they got a long set list too. It was fantastic. But yeah, I'm excited. I think this is a good pick on the promise that they've kind of turned around how they do set lists. I know Tony specifically said that they kind of wanted to try some new sounds, and he enjoyed making and recording them, but they didn't enjoy performing it because the crowd didn't get into it as much.
Well,
so
yeah, shit, Tony.
Yeah, so I think part of like Clear Cold Beyond, I think they wanted to make it more aggressive because they wanted to get that like crowd interaction back that they enjoyed.
The crowd was dead except for when they play Full Moon at the end.
God, yeah. That the last time I saw them, I was for half the set like, I'm not into this, and I love Sonata Arctica. They were one of my favorite like bands getting into power metal, and like I'm just not having fun here. And I'm like, something's wrong. And it was the set list. It wasn't the performance. It was the set list.
Yeah. So when the video was there, I kept waiting for it to be like, oh, playing Ecliptica in full, and it didn't say that.
That would. Oh man, I would flip out.
Yeah. So we can't wish for that much, I guess. But yeah, I try. All right, we'll circle around for day 3 for next year, opening up with Majestica, which I fucking love Majestica. I'm so stoked that they'll finally have Tommy Johansson playing at ProgPower. I feel like him leaving Sabaton is like the best thing he could have done for the power metal community. Maybe not for his wallet, but for us power metal enjoyers, it's the best thing he could have done.
Yeah, I did like some of the stuff he did for Sabaton, like adding a high harmony to the live performance of Winged Hussars. I actually really like that, but like I feel like he was incredibly underutilized in Sabaton.
Completely.
And obviously in Majestica, he's fantastic. I love the newest release by Majestica. I still think like they're like, hey, Christmas album. I'm like,
it's a good album.
It's good. I'm like, I was like, oh, seriously? I'm like, eat my own words. Fantastic. Let's listen to Christmas. Like, I am here for Majestica.
All right, then the next 2 bands I'm not familiar with either. That's Temic and Bellicor.
Okay, Temic, no idea. Bellicor, fantastic. Melodeath, good stuff though. Like I initially got like Spotify DJ mode or radio mode suggested it, and I've ended up accidentally saving 5 songs over just random suggestions. So like every time a song gets suggested by them, I'm like, oh, save this for later. Save this for like, if every time someone plays a song for you, I'm like, no, I need more of this. No, I need more of this. And like, put this into my like, yeah, put this into the rotation. I'm like, you know what? They're probably a good band. So I've listened to them a bit more, and I'm really excited for them. I still don't know if I'm going to Prog Power next year, but this is a really good pick.
All right, I'll have to keep an eye on for them. After that is a bit of an odd pick, but one that I'm actually pretty stoked for, and that's the Night Flight Orchestra, which is arguably not even a metal band, but fuck it, they're very fun and have good songs and are like the side project of a metal band, so I'll take it. I'm glad everyone I know, like, who was like talking about Prog Power is excited for this, so I think it's probably a good pick knowing so many people are into it. I'm not excited. I've tried to get into them, and I'm like, I don't. It's. I'm not the target audience, but knowing what I know from other reactions, I'm glad they got picked. Yeah, even if you're not as into the music, they might just put on a good performance anyway.
Yeah, probably.
After that is Vanden Plas, another band I'm not familiar with.
It's weird. They must have been around a while, because I'm like I think back when I was like listening to Pandora, I'm wondering if this is the same band, but I think I remember hearing them like back in the day, like, oh, this is cool, and then like forgetting they existed until like the announcement. I'm like, I haven't heard that name in forever. I think it's that same band, but like, is this one of the older? I feel like I should have done my for the proggy German prog.
Founded in the mid 1980s. Damn.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, yeah. Geez. Yeah. German prog band. I need to look them up more, honestly. Yeah. Literally their first album is before like some of the OG like established band, like pre-Rhapsody. Once you start getting into that, like, you know, this is, yeah, they've been around. So no, this is I think I should like listen to more of them again, because I think it's been forever since I've heard them.
All right, and then headlining day 3 is Orden Ogan, coming back to Prog Power for a big show. I've seen Orden Ogan twice, and they do a great job with their live shows. Their music is kind of hit and miss for me, but I think the live shows, they usually pick better songs. So I think this will be a solid headliner, even if not like my favorite headliner. Yeah,
this is like, I'd already seen Orden Ogan, but when I saw him the second time, I'm like, this is still fun. I'm thoroughly convinced that if I'm not like going to go out of my way to see them again, but if they're at a show I'm going to see them, because like, you know, they're always going to put on an enjoyable performance. Even on the more recent one that I saw, or yeah, like when I what was it, at Epic Fest? The word eluded me, but they played a couple of the newer songs that I wasn't as into, but it didn't matter, because it's like, gosh, this stuff's just it actually translate well live. It's always like stompy anthemic stuff. You want to just sing along and like sway with it. And I'm like, man, it's catchy. I almost hate it when I'm like, I don't really like this song. Actually, you know, maybe I do like it. So yeah, good pick.
All right, then we've got day 4, which I'm not super into day 4.
No.
We're starting off with Aviations, a prog metal band, I think from the US, who I haven't really listened to much, but I see them called cozy metal, which is interesting.
It was weird, because this I have a note and I haven't followed up on it, but the previous song that they played for this, I'm like, no, I want this. What is this song? So the previous song got my attention, so I need to look them up more. I just have been busy.
And then we've got All for Metal, which
no,
I'm like, yeah, I want more power metal bands, but not like this, man.
Yeah,
I'm not thrilled about this. All for Metal for me are very soulless, like literally like created by a label. They're like a parody of a parody style band, where it's just I don't know. I'm not super into it. Maybe they'll put on a good show. Maybe this will be like the Victorius of next year, I think. But I'm not.
That's not a great title.
Yes, we're like, you know, half the band, half the festival is going to be like prog, and the other half-ish is power. And to like, so it feels like, oh, there's really limited slots for the power metal heads, and to waste it on All for Metal, just like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Well, I mean, I'm sure some people like them. The crowd was like going, ah, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize. I forgot people liked them. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think the people who I've seen who like All for Metal the best just think their singers are hot. which I guess that's something. Depends on your type, you know.
I don't know. I thought I would but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I do more for that Circus Maximus dude. I need to look up his name. He's great. Uh-huh.
All right. Next up is Jelasic, which I don't know what that is.
No idea.
All right. We'll check it out next year then. Mm-hmm. And then after that is Cemetery Skyline.
The preview song also sounded good for this.
It's another one I'm not familiar with.
Not familiar though.
If I look them up super quick because I'm a good journalist, they are this is a Mellow Death supergroup, which all right, that sounds promising.
Yeah, I got the impression from some comments that they were like a supergroup, and I'm like, wasn't aware, but
I think someone was telling me that like, no, this is actually one to watch for next year. So okay, I'll be open minded for that one
for sure.
Speaking of open minded, the next band you gotta be real open minded for. So it's this like big folk project called Scald. It's not even really a metal band. I was getting like high lung vibes from the preview video. Mm-hmm. It looks interesting. Glenn had been teasing there's going to be like, oh, a what the fuck band. I'm pretty sure this is that. Mm-hmm. And I'll take a weird folk thing over like a boomer glam rock band as the what the fuck element. So like, fuck it. I'll take it.
Man, I'd take it. I like some folk, but sometimes I think it does. I think there's a good chance that this is the kind of stuff that translates well live. So I'm optimistic about them.
Because like the video had like all these like big extra instruments going on. Like,
yeah,
I have no idea why the fuck like they're doing this. A French Nordic folk group formed in 2018.
Yeah,
I would not have picked French for this.
No idea.
All right, so this is gonna be a weird one, but you know, fuck it. It's not boring prog band number 20, so I'll do it.
Huh.
And that brings us into the final band of the festival. That is Symphony X. I'm actually into this because I somehow I've never seen Symphony X live, so I'm glad to finally be forced to see them at Prog Power.
I've seen them live, I think 3 times, maybe twice. One of my favorite things that they did was they played for me. I've gotten so lucky. I've heard The Odyssey and Divine Wings of Tragedy live. But when they did, I first caught them. This is kind of funny because I caught like the name and I was like, I like back when I was not a little child, barely old enough to drive, and they're just doing their Odyssey tour with Flying Guardians, A Night at the Opera tour, and that was my first metal show ever. But I didn't know what Symphony X was, so like I knew that I'm like, okay, I should look them up, and I never did. But seeing them live for that tour. I immediately started Napstering or whatever. I don't think it was past that time.
Well, this was what, like 2002 or something?
2002, yeah. So like, I downloaded all their stuff. I went to the nearby mall to the FYE. I bought like 3 of their albums. They're fantastic. I love Symphony X, but it's been ages since I've seen them. I think by ages, I mean over 10 years. So, good pick. But I've already seen them 3 times, so it's not like... like, oh, look, a new band. Like, you know, it's not that. But this is a good pick because I've seen them 3 times, not because like, oh, on accident. The first time I've seen them on accident, the 2 times after that were deliberate because I wanted to see them again. Fantastic. Love Symphony X. Yeah,
I like when Prog Power can find a band that really inhibits both the prog and power sides.
Yeah.
And is able to unite both of them. Like when Seventh Wonder, I think, did a great job of this. I think you got that last year with Mirath, this year with Pagan's Mind, where everybody can kind of enjoy it, and you know we don't have to fight the prog nerds and the power cool people.
yeah.
So I think this is a good pick for that.
I definitely like the more hybrid stuff. So, fantastic pick. I think that was lovely.
Yeah. So I think day 4 will end strong there. All right, and so day 1 we're still waiting on. Like we said earlier, we were happy with day 1 this year, so probably bodes well for next year as well. Mm-hmm. Overall, I think I really like day 2. Day 3's also got some really good stuff. Day 4, I'm less stoked on, but I'm still gonna go because like Prog Power is just a thing that I do now. So I might go. I wasn't initially feeling it, but like I kind of don't want to miss day 2, so I don't know.
We'll
And
see.
and remember, half these bands are gonna get dropped by the visa process anyway.
Well,
Right?
that's a good point. I mean, we'll see. I mean, but if they drop Iron Savior, I will be very upset.
That would be upsetting.
For sure. But yeah, day 2 looks great. Overall, this looks fine. I like the headliners.
All right. I think that's gonna do it for ProgPower this year. Did I miss anything there? Are we feeling good?
I think we are. I think we did a good job. I think we covered basically everything. So it was super fun. Outside of like the meeting random people, getting one of our friends that we came with getting super hammered, but like people don't need to know that.
Well, welcome to ProgPower when people get drunk at parties and
Very
metal shows.
drunk. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Hey, I was good this year. I don't think I ever got like super drunk or anything.
No, I was pretty good. I got a little buzzed 2 of the days, but that was about it.
And so there's 2 ProgPowers left supposedly. Next year and the year after will be the end of it, and like maybe it'll be kept going through some other form. Nobody really knows, but
I'd like it. I mean, if Milton could do a little more with it, maybe, because I seem to like the bands that Milton picks more than the other like people.
Yeah, on average, I think I give Milton the best taste, but it varies.
Sounds like you have good taste too.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Alice, for joining me on another ProgPower episode. To our listeners, if you enjoy Gloom and Frost Haven content, you should check out Rage Badger Gaming, where nerds play board games. Apparently. Yeah,
it's great. It's really hyper specific stuff. So I don't talk about metal. I did make a metal tier list for the Frosthaven stuff. I got really high for it.
I feel like your audience probably had no idea what you were talking about for half of that video, at least.
Some people did. It was funny because I got some feedback where like, holy crap, you listened to X or Y. Most people were surprised because I never talk about it. But yeah, hit it up. Rage Badger Gaming if you're into like Gloomhaven content. All right.
And with this, the American festival season will be over, so we'll be back with your regular complaining about music on the next Powerful. We got a lot of albums coming out these last couple months. We got fucking Nightwish and Winter. The Time 2 came out. Remember that?
We literally had 4 songs come out, or 4 albums like come out yesterday that were like, I think at least notable, either by name or by value, like stuff. Like there's probably more. Those are only 4 that I noticed. So really big stuff happening recently. Yeah, big moves in the power metal world. We'll be back with that next month. Fernando will hopefully be alive. Hopefully this episode comes out in a timely manner. Will it? Well, we'll find out. And hey, thank you for listening and stay powerful.